Hey there, everyone. Darryl Slater here with Don Cosentino at the NFL Scouting Combine, where we're going to talk for a few minutes here about all things Jets and a lot of news as it pertains to guys in the current team, guys who are off the team now as of last week or earlier this week with Antonio Cromartie, and draft prospects too. So a lot going on here at the Combine. I guess we'll start with the most immediate news that we just reported on NJ.com about Calvin Pace. He wants to come back. And really not clear if the Jets want him back.
Right, yeah. Pace's representatives are going to meet with the Jets here in Indianapolis at some point this week, perhaps even as soon as tonight. And we'll find out if the Jets want to bring him back. And if they do, I can see it being more of a situational type role.
Yeah.
Pace has had a great career with the Jets, but he'll be 36 in October, and the Jets have made it clear to anyone who has talked to them that they want to get younger and faster, particularly on the defensive edge. And Pace being 36 and what he is, he's a good guy in the locker room, a good guy to have around, but just not a guy I think they want having to play every down at that position. So that was something. We also heard a little something else today, which is that now it's very early in the process, Darryl, but Dee Milliner is up for his fifth-year option after the 2016 season. The Jets have until May to pick that up, but it's sounding unlikely that they will.
Yeah, which is a bit unusual because most first-round picks will get their fifth-year option picked up because there's so little commitment to it. Basically, the simplest explanation is that the option needs to get picked up this spring to kick in for 2017, but it really truly doesn't kick in until next March. That's when it becomes fully guaranteed. So it's like a Quentin Copel situation, if you guys recall that. They were able to cut him loose. They actually did it during the season. They could have waited until right now or even till March with no cap ramifications. Now they could go ahead and pick up Milner's option and do the same thing, but the concern presumably here is his injury history. The option is guaranteed for injury only, so it's a big number.
Yes, and Milner's played in 18 games.
Yeah, 21 of 48.
21 of 48 games. He didn't play a defensive snap at all in 2015, so obviously that's a concern for the Jets as far as whether they want to be on the hook for whatever that money would be. Also, given that Dee was a top 10 pick at number 9, he would have a higher number than most first-round picks for the fifth-year option if he were to get injured.
Just to give you an idea, what the number is, we don't know. If you're wondering, as we're talking these numbers, we're not really sure what the number will be yet for 2017. But for the 2012 first-round picks, whose fifth-year option is this coming season, this fall, the cornerback number is $7.5 million for the 11 through 32, and then $11 million for the top 10 guys. So it's a significantly higher number. So it's a higher risk there, and then when you throw in the injury factor, maybe not so surprising that they're not going to pick it up, or at least it looks unlikely right now. So that's the most imminent news.
Yeah.
I mean, what did we take from yesterday?
Little minor news this
Yeah.
morning. There was the NFL Players Association had their annual meetings with the agents, and it was announced there that the Jets would carry over. This is expected. It's not really a big thing. They would carry over the $2.48 million in cap space that they had left over from 2015 into this year. So they're going to be figuring on a $155 million cap. They should have, after the cut of Antonio Cromartie this week, they should have about $20 million in space. But they've got the franchise tag with Muhammad Wilkerson, likely to be Muhammad Wilkerson to worry about, as well as getting a new contract for quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then Damon Harrison's deal is up, Chris Ivory. So they, a lot of work being done. The Jets are meeting with a lot of the agents for a lot of their players this week. As the week plays out, a lot of guys tonight, perhaps. So we'll see how that all plays out. But they've got some room to work with. They also could make some cuts, some restructures to kind of give themselves a little more breathing room.
That $2.5 million is, it doesn't seem like a lot, but that helps for a team like the Jets who are a little pressed. That could make a difference between bringing back a guy and not. And that that carryover is by design. That's something that as you said, we expected. So this is really day 2 of the Combine here. It's Thursday. Technically, day 1 was Tuesday, but really things got going yesterday. Mike McCagnon talked, Todd Bowles talked. We talked a little bit last night about some of the takeaways from that. What, in your mind, was the biggest, most interesting takeaway from what the coach and the GM said yesterday?
Well, I thought they're open to to possibly having Antonio Cromartie return, perhaps at a reduced salary. Cromartie still wants to play. He's still a capable cornerback, but again, the Jets are looking to get younger. They want to do better. They're hoping for better production at that position. But Todd Bowles made it very clear that they are open to bringing him back, just not at the $8 million he was due to make this year. Perhaps a lower number if things work out. It's very early in the process for that too. Cromartie could be one of those guys we see come through in the second wave of free agency in that second week, as some of the top tier guys, begin to sign on with other teams.
Yeah, and he's certainly not worth the maybe $3 or $4 million.
Yeah.
But I think when it boils down to it, I don't see him back.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I'd be
they
surprised at this point if he were to come back to the Jets. Just given that they want to get younger. That was something that Todd said repeatedly yesterday. That they had a very veteran team with a lot of free agents they had signed last year, but the goal is to kind of build for the long term by getting younger. This is really a big draft, and the workouts begin tomorrow on Friday. The quarterbacks and some other players talking today. The offensive linemen spoke to people yesterday. A handful of them had said they were going to meet with the Jets. Offensive line, edge rusher, are two priorities in terms of need for the Jets coming up. So this is a very big week for their scouts and their coaches to evaluate these players as they begin the process, which will continue with pro days and meetings and interviews, leading up until the draft at the end of April.
And they really know these guys already. That's one thing to remember. They're not meeting with these kids. They are really meeting with the kids actually and truly for the first time here. They don't get a chance to do that, the scouts, during the fall when they do their site visits at schools. But they have done so much background research. I mean, as a scout and a personnel guy in the NFL, you almost have to be like a detective or a reporter type guy. You have to work the edges and talk to the assistant coaches at the school. And even they can be a little coy. I think it's interesting to hear people at the Combine talk about you really have to kind of dig in and talk to some people in these kids' past and see what type of guy this guy is. Then you sit down with them here at the Combine, you ask them questions, and you have a better idea if the kid is being truthful because you already know those answers to those questions. So, looking forward, you'll see, a lot of those guys here at the Combine meeting with the Jets, and maybe a couple years from now, a future Jet like Leonard Williams, who met with the Jets last year at the Combine. You never could have expected he'd be drafted. Maybe another unexpected guy falls to them at 20. So we're going to head over to the stadium. We'll say farewell for now. Darryl Slater, Dom Cosentino, have a good day.